Hey, welcome back to the tavern with two average guys. Everybody please stand. We're going to pledge allegiance to our flag. You move your hats. Got flags on each side of the room. Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Excellent. We'll have some nice music to bring us into this podcast. As soon as my brother digs out that mystery guitar he's got in his mystery closet.
Yeah, I don't know too many people that are doing the Pledge of Allegiance
Well,
before the start of our show. But we're going to do it every week. We're proud to be Americans. And, we're proud of the flag. And hopefully you join us at home. Get in, and we'll try again next week.
That's right.
So we got some new props.
Nicely done.
I don't know who we are. United States Constitutional Group. You can't go wrong. He's Jack. I'm Dennis.
Yeah. We got our brick.
We simplified it.
We got our brick wall for the tavern.
Yep.
Because that's where we meet.
So tell your family and friends about us. Jack, we have a big announcement today. We've been talking about this for a few podcasts. The big day is finally here.
Right.
You know. But before we get into that, I just want to mention two things, if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
All right.
It's your tavern.
But before I do, I'll let you go to open statement first.
Well, it's a little long. I want to do this opening statement because I want people to start asking themselves questions, and I want you to start asking your family and friends these questions too. So to the Democrats that are registered Democratic Party and vote Democrat, I want to ask you this. Do you think it's fair that the people living in the southern border and forced to allow the illegal immigrants to flood their homes, to use the resources of their neighborhoods, food in your grocery stores, fuel in your gas stations, medical when they're not feeling well, going into your emergency rooms? And I'm not talking about a family. I'm not talking about a group. I'm talking tens of thousands of people walking through your yard, through your neighborhood, through your stores, through your hospitals. Nobody knows who they are, where they came from, what's ailing them, what their past is, where they come from. Do you think it's fair for your brethren of this country that are, in some cases, 3,000 miles away from where you live, 1,500 miles away from where you live, doesn't affect your daily, your store still got what you need, your gas stations are still there, and your emergency rooms are there, during a pandemic? What would you think if you woke up in the morning and saw this number of people walking through your front yard?
We invaded.
Right? I mean, you'd be asking, whoa, what is this? Where's this coming from?
What country are we in?
Right. You know, and now there's a criminal element too. You don't know, some people aren't leaving these countries for good measure. They're leaving this country because they're running. You don't know what kind of criminal element is now walking through your front yard, through your grocery store, through your gas station, through your emergency room. You don't know any of this. And for the righteous people coming through the border, what kind of sicknesses are they bringing? You know, 20% of the families that are coming through the border are testing positive for COVID. 18% of the juveniles that are coming through on their own is coming through positive COVID. We don't know what strain. We don't know if it's a strain we don't know yet. And there's other, smallpox, all of these other ailments. They're walking across your front lawn. You know, please sit and think about it as you're sitting in your home safe, thousands of miles away from where this is going on, whatever news channel you're watching, whether it's CNN, they're not covering it. Try and look in different places for your news. I'm not saying leave, if you watch CNN faithfully, I'm not saying leave CNN fully. We do the same thing. I'll watch to see primarily I watch Newsmax and Fox News. I don't get that AON.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't get that. But I do watch other channels to see what's being covered, how they're covering it, what they're saying, what their spin is to it, what's their angle on it. You should be doing the same thing. Now, what would you feel if these people with these different diseases are coming through? Some of them have been dormant for 100 years. We haven't had any of this. Mm-hmm. And, we almost had COVID knocked out. But they opened this border. And it went through. Don't blame your fellow Americans for the uptick in COVID. All right? Everybody that hasn't been vaccinated in this country, some of them haven't gotten vaccinated because of health reasons. Some of them just had children and they're breastfeeding. Ask yourself, with this government, and you're a young woman who just had an infant, whether it's your first child or your fifth, do you believe the government and what they say with this vaccine to get this injected into your body and then feed your child, through breastfeeding? There are different reasons people aren't getting it. Some people aren't getting it because they got COVID. Some people aren't getting it because they already have the antibody. Some of the people aren't getting it because they don't trust the government. But they're not the reason, I don't feel. They're not the reason for the huge uptick. Maybe small, localized numbers going up for it, but our big pandemic that's coming, resurfacing through this government, is because that open border is there. And it is unchecked, unregulated, untested, not vaccinated. So stop blaming the people that we live with. We're brothers and sisters in this country. We belong to the same government. I don't understand why there's this divide in that. It's not right.
You need to put blame where it belongs. This country is messed up because of our politicians. It's not because of you and I. It's not because of anything else. It's because our politicians have failed us. And that's part of the reason why we got this big announcement today. It's because of that.
But to the other Democrats. Do you feel comfortable with the rise in fuel prices? Okay? I understand that the platform for the Democratic Party wants to have renewable energy. But we've said it before. Electric vehicles are not safe for the environment. When these vehicles, 10 years down the road, their batteries no longer take a charge, those batteries are deadly to get rid of. They have an antifreeze that covers them to keep them from overheating in the southern states that are warm, and an antifreeze to keep them warm in the cold states up north. So you got to get rid of that antifreeze, you got to get rid of the lithium and all of these other chemical elements that make up a battery. What do we do with that? Number one. Number two, the mining to get the minerals to make those batteries. Why do you think there's a problem getting batteries done in this country? Why do you think Tesla's trying to make a battery as small as he can? Because mining for those minerals, first off, China owns 95% of them because the DEC, a bureaucracy of this country, has shut down all our mines that mine these minerals to make these batteries. So China owns 95% of the minerals, and they're importing them to our country or making the batteries themselves in China. That mining to get these minerals, the nickel and so forth, your chemists out there, you know what's making batteries. Lithium is like strip mining of the 60s and 70s for coal in this country. It is a catastrophe for the environment. All right, so it's in China. We go back again. So if China's destroying the environment, is that helping the United States? They have vehicles with so much anti-pollutants in it now they're practically not putting any gases out. That's how clean they are. Please, please look at that. Please ask yourself that question. Again, we know that the platform of the Democrats are wholly in renewable energy. But until you get there, now the platform, the 2020 platform, says that they're going to get high-paying jobs to take care of solar, wind, electric cars, to do these. And then they say, on the other side of it, it's going to cost practically nothing to have these things operating. So if it costs nothing to operate these things, how are you going to have a good paying job? What's going to pay for the good paying job? If you're using a resource that costs no money to maintain and no money to produce, then how are you making a high paying job? Please start listening, start asking these questions. If the government's telling you that they're going to give you high paying jobs, first off, the government should give you no jobs. The government should not be in the business of handing out jobs. It should be private sector, number one. Number two, they say training programs. The government shouldn't be training you in anything. Private sector should be training you in everything. So until we get this, eventually we'll get this. Why would the government of the United States stop the Keystone Pipeline to the United States to benefit us, to lower our costs, to help the average person living out there, and then say to Germany, yes, you build a pipeline from one of our arch enemies, Russia, and buy their fossil fuel from there, so you guys can have some sustenance over there, and your citizens can live a comfortable life and pay for energy, when we had the contract with them. NATO was invented to keep Russia in check. So if Russia is not in check anymore in Europe, why do we belong to NATO? Why is there a NATO? If Russia's not going to be held accountable for anything of what they used to do, and still do, then why are we participating in NATO? You know, Germany is setting Russia up as the world power. They're close to Russia. You want to be under their thumb? Good luck. I don't want to be. Now to the Republican Party. I want to ask the Republican Party, where are your Republican politicians? California had a process. They were trying to get rid of Newsom as their governor. He has destroyed that state. There is homelessness. There is drug epidemics. Their average home, because of all of the taxes and regulations in that state, the average home in California sells for, right now, $800,000. Does that sound like an average price that you can afford?
That.
Right. What kind of average person can afford an $800,000 home? You want to know why there's homeless in California? Maybe because nobody can afford an $800,000 home. This is a cookie cutter house, 3-bedroom ranch in California, maybe 1,500 square feet. $800,000 is your average. That's your average.
Outrageous.
So your average neighborhood, let's say for New York, people in New York, Levittown, those Levitt houses would be going for $800,000. That's ridiculous. And they may be going for that in New York too, because New York is ridiculous. Larry Elders was running under the Republican ticket against Newsom. Newsom had the former President Obama, the president who has a railroad of problems going on, but he had time enough to campaign for Newsom. The vice president, who hasn't been to the southern border yet, hasn't taken care of that yet. She made one speech that was ridiculous in the triangle down in Central America. Who did the Republicans send? All right, and I'm not saying that your Republican Party should have went and campaigned for Larry Elder. Here's the problem. Dianne Feinstein is 88 years old. She was a former mayor of San Francisco and a United States Senator. She had a driver, a limo driver, who was a Chinese spy that was driving her for 20 years. So for 20 years, this man sat 5 feet away from a U.S. Senator, senior U.S. Senator, listening to everything she was saying. as a Chinese spy. They're saying that she's starting to lose her ability to be a senator. So how is it that the Republican Party didn't send every elected U.S. politician to California to campaign? Because if Larry Elder wins the governorship for California, he gets a chance to, if Dianne Feinstein has to leave the Senate, he can name the next U.S. Senator there. Could have been a Republican, and the Republican Party could have taken the majority in the Senate. But your politicians couldn't be bothered. Maxine Waters went to Minnesota. She got off her ass and went to Minnesota and campaigned against the cops to make sure that they had to do life in prison on that case there. But you guys couldn't send nobody to California to try and win back not only California as a Republican governor, but the Senate back into the Republican. My question to both parties now, ask yourself right now, how long does it feel like this administration has been in office? Doesn't feel like it's only been 8 months.
Ooh.
It feels like it's been years this guy occupied the White House. You know, he talks about Afghanistan. Oh, I inherited a time frame, not a plan. Joe Biden has gotten rid of every single thing that Trump did. Trump's deadline was May. He changed it to September 11th because he thought he was going to grandstand, and then changed it back to August 31st. He could have changed it to whatever he wanted. He could have done anything he wanted to do with that. But he has thrown every single thing that Trump did in the trash, whether you believe it or not, whether you agreed with it or not. But he didn't do it with Afghanistan. He let those 13 people die, those 13 service people. He left, nobody knows the number of American citizens in Afghanistan, and opened the door to all those minerals, again, for our batteries, to run our electric cars, for the platform that the Democratic Party wants to run by getting rid of the combustible engine and replace it with electric cars. For China to go in there and now get 100% of the mineral rights to make our batteries. Iran to go in there. Pakistan, all of them are nuclear powers, now have access to our military equipment that we left there, the minerals left in that ground, and the American citizens that are there. That's my opening statement. Please start asking yourself in the mirror certain questions. When you feel something is wrong, look in the mirror in the morning, give yourself another extra 3 seconds, and say, hey buddy, hey lady in the mirror, why is this going on? Do I agree with this? And this, if you start asking yourself this question, you will understand why we're doing today's podcast and making this announcement.
We're just trying to get you thinking about what's happening out there. Doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, doesn't matter if you're Republican, a conservative, or liberal. You have got to be pissed off at these politicians. They don't give a damn. They're the ruling class. That's what it's come to. And that's what we got away from. They don't live by the rules they make because they think they're better than everybody else. It's coming back, folks. It's coming back. The future starts today, Jack.
Yeah.
What we're going to be talking about, we're not going to let these clowns ruin our country. They've already destroyed enough of them. Like I said, the future of America starts today. All right? 75% of people believe there's widespread government corruption. There's corruption in every single agency we have in America today.
Yeah.
Every single one.
You want a little fact on you? Listen to this, folks. All right? Our founding fathers made a government of separation of powers. 3 branches of government. They made it for a reason. Today, there are about 150 lawmaking agencies in the government today. So what does that mean? That means there are so many agencies in this government that are making laws It's making our government unrecognizable. It's an unrecognizable form of government. Because now, just like our country, our government has no borders on the three branches of government. If you don't have the separations of power of three branches of government, you don't have a republic, you don't have our government. If you don't have borders, you don't have a country. So here we are with this administration, without a border on the southern border. The Canadian border's locked up tight. Can't do nothing up there. No going, no coming. Southern border, free willy-nilly. The three branches of government are so convoluted, they don't know what they're doing. And let me tell you something. The Democrats are pushing their agenda through two of the branches, the judicial and the executive. And the one that the Republicans have a say in it, they're saying nothing and they're doing nothing. They had an opportunity with these hearings with Blinken. Instead of grandstanding and trying to get your 15 seconds on the news, which is only going to be Newsmax, and it's only going to be Fox, this was your opportunity to grab Blinken and put him right into a corner and say, what day and what time did our president have this phone conversation with the president of Afghanistan, telling him not to make it look like it's that big of a deal over there? Get him on testimony. It didn't happen. It did happen. It was this date. Don't know what you're talking about. He's on record now. When did you know that the Taliban was going to take over the government of Afghanistan? When did you know it? When did you get this intel and disregard it? We never got it. We got it 2 days before we left. Whatever it was, he's on record. You have leverage over these people that were appointed into a government job that has tremendous power. This man is the Secretary of State. He talks to every foreign nationality there is. He is like the go-to guy for the president. What's going on over there? You're supposed to be talking to these people. You could have had this guy on the carpet testifying on a legal basis, and you would have had leverage on it. But instead, they decided to yell at him that he needed to resign. What does he need to resign for? You're not going to put his feet to the flame? If there is any reason. Who knows? Maybe we didn't get anything. We don't know. We don't have any resources. We're just, Dennis and Jack. Average guys. Two average guys just asking ourselves the question, why did the Republican Party, because he testified both in the House of Representatives and the House of the Senate. On both floors he testified, and not one of them put his feet to the flame. Not one of them got him to say one thing under oath that they can now take the next step to make sure he wasn't lying. Sorry, I'm taking a lot of time.
He's passionate, folks. He's really passionate. Again, is it pissing you off? Because we're pissed. It's ridiculous. Like I said, there's corruption in the DOJ. General Milley making that call to Chinese counterpart. That's treason, folks. All right? Corruption. DOJ, every level of government, didn't realize how bad it was until the other day.
Well, you Republicans that are registered Republicans, watch when Milley testifies. See if your party, your representatives, the people you've left in there for decades, for 3 generations, put his feet to the flame and get him to stop that. Or your representatives gonna seize the moment for a hot topic to be on the internet, on Instagram, for 3 seconds.
Yep. But most of us feel left out. I mean, where do we go? I mean, we all get frustrated. I mean, what do we do? I mean, we all get frustrated with these politicians and we don't know where to turn. And we don't know who to believe anymore. We don't know where to go. We always seem to give politicians second chance, third chance, fourth chance, fifth chance. How many chances do we have to give them? We have to come together, send a huge message, and kick these clowns out of office.
Listen.
They're nothing but clowns. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, conservative or liberal. We're all fed up with you politicians and the way you conduct business of America. You're all part of the problem.
God is mentioned in the Declaration of Independence. I don't remember if it's 3 or 4 or 5 times. Look at that though. Because let me tell you something. When you take God out of your government, you take the morality out of your government. And when you take morals out of your government, you lose power. There's no more power there.
It's them against us.
Right.
That's all it is.
And the more God is taken out, the less power there is in your government. And that, my friends, is the beginning of tyranny.
Yep. No, we're here to tell you today, there is a place where we all can turn.
That's right.
Where we all can have a voice, and we can all have a say in how this government is run. Because the government belongs to us, belongs to we the people. You know, great things happen from small ideas.
Right.
Which in turn inspires big goals. Sometimes they come true, sometimes they don't.
They can always come true in this country though, so
That's
far.
right. If you overcome fear in trying to accomplish that goal, you overcome fear. You hit roadblocks along the way, think you want to quit, say the hell with it. Well, you know what, Jack, we can't say the hell with it anymore. The America we know is in crisis, and we need to do something about it. Right here today, right now, we're here to tell everyone that we've got the answer. And hopefully we'll inspire some of you to join us. It's more than anger. It's more than anger for me. I am so fed up with these politicians.
Well, you was actually in the trench. You worked under these politicians for a year of your life. On a foreign land for a war that lasted for 20 years, which in the Constitution says they're only allowed to fund that for 2 years. That's why.
You know, maybe you might be tired of fighting and want to just give up. Hang in there, folks. The Calvary is coming. And we're called 2 average guys. Right now, we want to talk to those people who believe they are average and also want change. Because we're not going to get everybody. We've got those diehard, can't knock the, anything you do with them. If you're one of the 62% of people that want a third party, listen closely. Because today, we officially launched here on our podcast and on YouTube called the Independent Constitutional Party. A party for the average American citizen, like Jack and I, like Junior, like Mike. I threw Mike in there. Give us a chance, give us the opportunity to put our case in front of you, put it on the table, show you what our platform is, tell you what our vision is, and why the timing is right for starting this third party. You know, we understand people say they'll take votes away from the Republican Party and they'll take away votes from the Democratic Party. At this present point in our history, I don't really care who we take votes away from. Because if they were doing their job in the first place, we wouldn't be taking anything away from them. We'd still be voting and supporting them. They have lost our confidence, Jack.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, last week we were talking about how the United States is slowly turning into a 2-class society. The political class and the rest of us, the constituents. Mm-hmm. The constituents is much, remember, there's 330 million of us against DC. We know what we feel. We know what we live. There was a time when John McCain was running for president. You know that man didn't know how many houses he owned? That man was not only out of touch with the American people, he was out of touch with his own life. How do you have that much wealth? Now again, this man never had a job except for a government job. And I'm not taking away his heroics that he did. The man was a prisoner of war, had an opportunity to leave and said, I'm not leaving without the rest of the troops. I'm going all the way down. But at the end of his career, when politics corrupted him,
when the Republicans needed him most, he turned his back on them.
And they asked him a simple question about his homes. And he said, I don't know how many I have. I mean, does Nancy Pelosi know how many homes she has? Newsom?
I bet she knows how many drinks she has.
Yeah. You know, Mitch McConnell, his wife is loaded. He's loaded too, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure.
Now, when you go to those 2-class societies, we know it doesn't work. And the founding fathers knew it didn't work. Because there was a little place called Jamestown that was discovered before Massachusetts, before the Pilgrims landed in Massachusetts. And they were nothing but aristocrats, political class, leading class. They were leading class people, and they didn't make it. And they didn't make it because it was beneath them to work the land. They refused to go out there and get their hands dirty. So they sat there and starved to death. And they sat there and froze to death. Didn't dig their trenches. Didn't have any place for waste to go. Because in their life, somebody's supposed to do it for them. Another class of folks is supposed to do to that.
Right.
Does it sound familiar? You know, these politicians, what do? They don't make the laws. They don't write the bills. They don't report back to you. They don't give nothing back to you. They constantly take from you. Everything you own, they want. Both parties. Think about, again, ask yourself, how long does it feel like this administration has been in office right now?
I'll feel like an eternity.
And what has the other party that's not in power done to try and help? Listen, this Republican Party should be on every news agency, every Sunday morning political talk show there is. And if it's MSNBC, CNN, Good Morning America, I don't care what it is. They should be on there talking about that phone call with the Afghanistan president. They should be on there with the call with Milley to China. They should be on there about the border. They should be on there what's going on in California, Chicago, New York, New Jersey, all of these states. They should be on there. And if the people that are running these news agencies are trying to cut them off, then they should stand up out of their chair and yell back. No, your listeners deserve to hear my side of the story, their side of the story. The other 50% of the United States should know what you feel, Mr. Commentator, about your party, because you know they're all left-leaning. Where are they? Why do they only go to Fox News and Newsmax? Enough already.
Because they spend it for their favor.
Because they're part of the same class, folks. There's no difference between a Democrat and a Republican anymore. There is no difference. Because if there was, your Republican Party would be infuriated and do anything they can to get their word out. But they're not. Ask yourself, why are they not?
Folks, we hear you loud and clear. You know, Jack and I are just like you. We're average, hardworking American citizens struggling to survive. Politicians have no clue what it's like. Most of them, there's a few who have lived a hard life, but most of them got everything handed to them. AOC just went to a $30,000 gala. $30,000 per ticket.
She paid zero.
She paid zero for it. Most people don't even make $30,000 in a year.
She probably spent $10,000 on that dress.
I'll say like 5,000, but yeah, close to it. But she's telling us that she wants to give everybody $15 an hour. Are you pissed yet, folks? I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. You gotta be upset. You know, the Declaration of Independence lists 30 oppressions that our founding fathers believed the British monarchy was doing to our citizens at that time. You know, we also put together a list. We call them injustices. We put 15 together that we feel the politicians of today are doing to we, the constituents. We're not going to go over all 15. We're going to go over a couple few, maybe 3 of them. It's up on our webpage. We got a new webpage. We're on GoDaddy, theindependentconstitutionalparty.com.
Right. And so far this is all we got.
So if you look at the impressions, we got it on there. If you see something that you need added, we're an open book. Let us know. We'll do the research and we'll add it. Because you know what? This is going to be a people's party. It's not going to be the ruling class party. It's for we the people. All right, so the first justice. Politicians have refused constituent demands for term limits. 80% of people here in America want our representatives to place term limits on themselves, but year after year, we see nothing on term limits. Refusing what the people of this country want. Our politicians, except for what, 1992, when Newt Gingrich was there?
1992 was the last time.
They put a constitutional, but that got defeated by the states. But year after year, day after day, we hear nothing from these politicians on. 80% of the people, folks, 8 out of 10 people want term limits. But our freaking politicians say no.
I want to say about the first injustice, politicians have failed to unite our country and created division in America. Well, I got news for you folks. They refused to unite amongst themselves. They don't unite with themselves. And they're not uniting the United States. But by doing this, they may be causing a uniting of the constituents that they don't realize. We are getting a rallying point against them, against their ignorance of our life. Your failure to unite us and unite yourselves is causing us to unite.
Together. Yep, totally right there. Another injustice. Politicians have lost the confidence of we the people. But I don't think we need to explain anymore. I have no confidence in these folks.
No.
Jack doesn't, Junior, Mike. If you have confidence in our politicians, I think like 33% of the people have confidence. 33%. That is unbelievable, folks. Every day these politicians come on TV and lie straight to our faces. They refuse to work together. They create animosity between political parties. There's sure as hell ain't any trust anymore. And they sure as hell don't have any integrity. None. None whatsoever. I wouldn't trust these people as far as I can throw them.
Yeah. No. They're, you know, go ahead, go on. Because you're right on that. There's not even anything to say about it. I mean, not only did they lie to your face, but they're conducting corruption right on TV.
Yep.
I mean, you know, General Milley said, yeah, I called the guy. Now what?
They should hang him. They should try and hang him and then retry and hang him twice.
For every phone call he made.
You know, Jack mentioned this one earlier about our borders, but politicians have refused to secure our borders, violating immigration laws. In August alone, more than 200,000 migrants crossed the border. There's several thousand people under that bridge in Texas. We've written our politicians. We're lucky to get an answer back.
He didn't say anything about that though.
No. It's a standard letter. You know they're not answering us. They're not answering you. I don't think there's much more to say on that, Jack. They have refused to secure our borders.
And I tell you what, it's one of the jobs that the federal government's supposed to do. It says it flat out in the Constitution. It's not even confusing. Like you can't say, let me try. It literally says, word for word, protect us from invasion. Hello. Does it get any simple? I mean,
Pretty simple.
right,
Pretty straightforward, black and white.
right. I mean, I think that might be second grade reading level.
Unbelievable.
It is. So, you know what I like that you said here, politicians have failed the American people by imposing taxes on us without our consent to pay for their social programs. So number one, what I have to say with that is, social programs and bureaucracies aren't the government's job. You know how many social programs they should be conducting in the federal government? 0. That's the state's job. The state knows what their constituents and their citizens need, want, and have to have. Federal government doesn't. My God, they don't even know how many houses they live in. They don't even know that they're supposed to protect us and have a border.
Right.
They don't even know how many branches of government are on it. They don't even know what party they belong to because they belong to the one party.
Ruling party.
The political party.
Yep. Rule for thee, but not for me.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're not gonna, that's like 5 of them we just gave you right there. Again, check out our website, independentconstitutionalparty.com on GoDaddy. But starting a political party, it's not easy. It takes committed people working tirelessly to get our message out. We have no other choice but to do this, Jack.
Yep.
We can't let these politicians win. We challenge each and every one of you. Turn off that idiot box,
Yeah.
Jack likes to call it. Get involved with us. The future depends on it. The future of this country depends on it. Your grandchildren's future depends on it. Get your ass off that couch and say enough is enough. I'm talking to everyone here today, Jack. Everyone that'll listen. Tell your family and tell your friends.
Yeah, the people that don't listen.
We
Tell
all
them.
know you're frustrated, all right? We are. Everyone is. Give this party a chance. We're going to change history of America, and we want you along with the ride, all right? Don't be the one to say, hey, I could have been a part of that, but I didn't.
Listen, we're not going to change American history. We're going to bring America back to its history. That should be our slogan. What do you think?
I like that.
Yeah. Bring America back to its history. Stand it back up again
Bring America back.
to its history.
We're going to change politics.
You
That's
know,
what we're going to do. We're going to change politics.
This country is so divided. You know, there was another time this country was divided. And the president at that time lost his life because he brought this country back together, united. His name was Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln inherited a country divided, completely divided.
Mm-hmm.
They were succeeding as he walked through the front door. As he was lowering his hand and taking his hand off the Bible, they were succeeding from our government. And this man spent every day and night making sure that this country did not divide itself. And in the end, what it did was cost him his life. Please tell me one politician that is dedicated to you and I and this country to give their life up. They won't even give their job up to keep this country united. Never mind their life. That ain't never gonna happen.
Nope.
Not with the ones we got in there now.
Nah, they're all useless. So the Independent Constitutional Party, the ICP as we like to call it, believes the two major parties we have in America today, the Democrats and Republicans, have taken our country as far as they can. They ain't gonna take it any farther. Our goal is to focus on the future and not the past. We need new leadership who are independent thinkers with independent minds that will work for all the people of the United States. Every citizen, whether it be independent, Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, don't matter. Everybody, male, female, black, white. We're not going to offer false hopes and promises like these politicians do, all right? What we do, we will pledge this, to be honest with the American people on our current state of affairs. The country is not in a good shape right now. We're in trouble. In a collision course with socialism. The federal deficit is almost $30 trillion. It has to be paid back eventually. We feel that our country has veered off course as to what our founding fathers believed in when they created this Republican form of government. Several people, our politicians today, have lost sight of the two most important documents in our history, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. We need to get back to the basics and govern according to those two documents. Elected members of this party will work within the confines of both those documents. There are people trying to destroy our flag and the legacy of the United States. Our American flag is a symbol of who we are. People have died defending our national symbol. We will not let anyone destroy it or even desecrate freedom. And our flag stands for freedom.
Yeah.
From George Washington crossing the Delaware to the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, our enemies knew we were close by when they saw that flag flying high. We will not change or alter it. The only time is adding new states to the Constitution, according to the Constitution. Our flag is there for humanity, not a specific race. Stand proud to be an American. Stand proud to be a patriot with a common goal of peace. We're just about out of time, Jack.
Are we?
Yeah.
I just wanted to go on another thing too. On one of these pages, I'm going to just read a quick thing. Citizens have been misled by our politicians for too many years. We don't feel like we can win another battle, but we must go forward to not lose this war. From the Revolutionary War to the war on terrorism, people have fought and died for this country, and members of this party will not sit idly by and let their accomplishments go unnoticed. Uniting our country is going to be an uphill battle. Both parties will come at us telling people straight out lies to keep you and their side. The above statistics that Dennis has laid out before are in black and white. That's what this party's going to do. You read, when we're done with this platform, you read this platform, you're going to know what our platform is every election. It's not going to change like theirs.
Yeah, every 4 years it changes with the Democrats and Republicans.
And
Ours
today's-
isn't going to change. It's going to stay forever.
Today's politicians, you know, they don't know how to win the war. They don't know how to win the peace.
They can't even win battles.
They don't know how to win the peace, and they don't know how to win the peace because they don't declare war. All right? They send out troops in harm's way without declaring war because they have to stay safe. And the biggest problem with our government is they can't win the peace because of their greed. They need to keep the arms deals going because it goes into their coffers. And that's why a war lasts for 20 years. That's the reason that the Vietnam War went as long as it did. That's why the Afghanistan and Iraq War went as long as it did. Was because these people are so greedy that they can't win a peace.
Totally agree with you on that one. No more 20-year wars, folks. We know
This
you're-
party will conduct themselves rapidly, morally, and deadly if they have to, because we are not going to maintain a war for more than 2 years. The Constitution says you can fund a military action for 2 years, and we have the capability to do that. Totally. We don't need to win out over our enemies for 20 years. Who wins in that? You want to know who wins in that?
They do.
Politicians.
Yep.
They make a ton of money. All right, sorry about that.
No, you're good. Listen, we know you're fed up. We know you're tired. And you feel like things are never going to get any better. We hear you and agree with you. That is why we started this independent constitutional party. That's for the people that feel left out. 62% of the people want a third party. Other third parties we've seen, they don't have a platform. Or if it is, it's very vague. We're doing our homework on this one. All right? All we ask is that you walk with us on this journey. And together we will achieve success. Change will not happen overnight, but in small increments. If you're looking for a quick fix, we're not for you. This is going to take a while. Our goal is to build a party that will last for generations and be able to make a difference in politics. We need your help. We need your family and friends' help. Stand united with us. We can't let the naysayers and these other parties bring our hopes and aspirations down. We assure you when we get this thing going, they will come at us hard. However, we've talked about this before and we are both up for the challenge. Nothing good in America comes easy, and this will not be an easy task to accomplish. Our country is worth the tough battle ahead. Patriots, stand united. Knowledge is power. See you next time at the tavern.
All right, that was good.